Have you checked the children? You're a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Greetings, Fright fans, and welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Jaime Fuego.
I'm Cecil Laird.
And we are jumping into the third installment of the Open Water franchise. And the reason we're skipping 2 is because the only thing that they copped from that original Open Water was really just getting abandoned and lost at sea, really. There wasn't a shark factor. And as we continue through our Shark Week coverage, we are returning to this one that we both saw a few years ago when it first came out, and yet we didn't review it because we weren't that impressed with it.
Frankly, we punished ourselves because we had to watch both this and Deep Blue Sea 2 twice in order to do the review.
Yeah, and honestly, I at least tolerated this a little more than Deep Blue Sea 2.
I did too, yeah.
And actually, I didn't hate it the last time, and I maybe appreciated it the slightest bit more this time because there's more sharks than we get in the first Open Water, at least, so that's a plus.
And the wave.
Yeah.
The wave is cool.
But yeah, it looks very rad, and this felt like, whereas it's grainy, like handheldy kind of footage a lot of the time
it's
and
very
stuff in the previous
found-footagey,
Open
yeah.
Water, whereas this one you could tell they spent a little bit more money. I think it was like over $1 million as opposed to like a little over 100,000.
Yeah, this was a mixture almost.
It was, and also with like the authorities and like the stock footage of them talking about searching the waters and trying to find people, and plus, technology has improved by this time, so their handhelds look a whole lot better that they're using. So, I feel like this is a little bit better of a film, not by a long shot, because I hate the 3 main actors in this movie. But aside from that, yeah, it's not terrible. So.
Yeah, this movie was basically Harpoon mixed with Open Water.
Watch Harpoon.
Yeah, watch Harpoon, and you can skip both of these, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Wait for the next review that we're going to put up tomorrow. But this one, you guys, my overall thoughts were, it's a little more enjoyable than the first movie. Even if it's not as original as that one was, this was still executed a little bit better, a little more enjoyable. There's one particular shark attack that was really cool, that remains really cool. Both times I watched it, I was like, oh, that's neat. It's a misdirect, because there are multiple great white sharks in this movie, and they make use of that. So this one is, just getting into the story, is about a group of people trying to go on a cage dive with great whites, and while a group of 3 of them are in the cage diving down there, a tsunami, a rogue wave, rather. It's a rogue wave in the middle of the ocean, which happens every now and again. It overturns the boat and sinks the boat, and the people in the cage have to now survive. They get out of the cage, but they have to survive at the surface of the water and try and get to safety while they're in great white infested waters.
So cool setup in that regard.
Yes.
I will at least give them a lot of credit for that in the story. They had a novel approach and just kind of angle to how they were going to approach the storytelling.
But it is also very similar to, it came out around the same time as 47 meters down.
Yeah.
And so it felt very cashing in on that trend at the time, and it doesn't not feel like that now, but it feels less like it because we're out of that time sequence now.
So a few years removed, but yeah.
But overall, the story, it's not bad. There's more that happens in it than in the original Open Water, so I was more on board with it. Now, it's not as interesting as another movie that has basically the same plot, which we're going to review tomorrow, but it was still more interesting than the first Open Water. What did you think of the story?
Definitely at least an improvement, and the whole, there's a love triangle aspect. You find out pretty early on about that, so that's not like super spoilery, and that's where the Harpoon kind of comparison comes into play. But the scenario and the fact that they're actually still filming when they're out there, and I feel at least the writing of the presence of the sharks and stuff gave me more terror, especially based on just the fact that we're dealing with great whites instead of these smaller sharks like in the previous one.
The lemon sharks or whatever they were.
Yeah, exactly. So I felt more on edge for these people, and more happens than them just being in the water. They find like some floaty sort of things, and then they eventually find a raft, and there's them trying to flare some of the rescuers that they see flying around at various times, and yet there's also the squabbling sort of shit that we had in the previous one. Sorry for dropping the S-bomb. But that's maybe a carryover to a degree. It's just love triangle as opposed to 2 people fighting, and so I don't know. As far as Australian shark horror stuff goes, it's not as bad as the previous installment that we reviewed, but it's still nothing to write home about. So,
yeah. Now, you mentioned the acting a little earlier, Fuego. You were not a real fan of the acting in this
No,
one.
not at all. I mean, it was more so just the way these characters were written, specifically the girl in this situation. She does some incredibly idiotic things. One moment in particular that I won't divulge, but it's in the third act, and when you see it, you will know it's just an escalating of an already bad situation, and I forgot about her doing this too. And yeah, you've got squabbling brothers because it's brothers that are fighting over this girl. But aside from that, I mean, their cousin, he wasn't too terrible, and I did believe the shark diving expert guy who they talked to at various points, as well as the head of the operation of rescuing all of them. I mean, all of that felt pretty genuine and solid, I would say. So, but it's just the unlikability of this trio. And as seems to be like a common theme in even some of the Croc stuff that we've watched lately, there's often somebody with a personal medical affliction that comes into play in the storytelling. And so, I mean, that character sold it decently, but it is tropey, and I know that's jumping back to the writing, but nonetheless, he didn't sell it quite as well as I would have liked.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I didn't really sympathize that much with these people. It was more so the situation than them within it, I guess. So
I mean, I pretty much agree with you. I mean, the acting is just not great in this one. They're not likable characters, and so you're not enjoying. It's not just that they're, I don't know, maybe it's the characters and not the actors, but they didn't really impress me either. Like at times I was like, ugh, groan, I don't know, I didn't really get into them very much. So I do understand that.
Yeah. As far as music goes, there's like some derpy kind of. They have these sequences where they're like playing and having a good time. They're at the amusement park. They're drinking. They're doing all these things. They're frolicking on the sand. And there's like a very light rock kind of song where this guy's singing about a girl. It's that sort of cheese approach that doesn't really, I don't know, it didn't really lend itself. It made the movie feel much hammier and almost, I don't know, like if the CW was trying to make a shark film for TV or something. That's kind of the vibe that I got, especially with the whole we're trying to get on this reality show and filming the entire thing, and the approach to that. So music wasn't really a factor that brought anything. I actually thought those little musical cues I mentioned in the previous review for Open Water that were kind of tribal chanty of that particular region were more effective in implementing dread and fear for these characters than some of the non-stuff that we got here. So
yeah, I can understand that. I mean, music didn't really do anything for me. So there's not really a whole lot to talk about there, but there were some effects in this one as compared to the original.
Indeed.
So there were quite a few great white attacks that actually looked pretty good, especially one in particular, which I touched on a bit earlier. There's a misdirect with two great whites. Actually, you don't even know there's two, but it's a cool little attack, and it took me by surprise both times I saw the movie. I know that for a fact. So the effects are actually pretty good. They don't overdo it in this one. They utilize the sharks, the necessary CG parts sparsely, so it doesn't overstay its welcome and it doesn't get really crazy. So I don't know. I thought as far as that goes, the effects were actually pretty good.
Yeah, no, I'm going to echo that as well. And I mean, yes, they used real sharks in this previous one, but there is just so much more menace for me with having something that larger and more just noteworthy for being killers and stuff, especially in the Aussie waters and stuff like that. And also the fact that we did see a lot of them through almost like a water night vision-y kind of thing at times. I thought that was really effective and cool, similar to what we had in 47 meters down, if we're gonna be fair about it like that. But yeah, man, I mean, this was an improvement. I will definitely contend over the real previous Open Water, which is the first one.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much as we can say about Open Water 3 Cage Dive. Let us know what your thoughts are in the comments down below if you've seen this one. If not, are you any more likely to go watch it now after hearing us discuss it? I wouldn't blame you if not, but
it's free on Tubi.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
But let us know what your thoughts are in those comments down below. While you're down there, if you enjoyed the video, click the like button and subscribe. We're going to be back tomorrow with our review of The Reef, which should be a bit more of a fun discussion.
Indeed.
But yeah, until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
And gracias, I've been Jaime and Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.